Today, we're taking on a rebuild at Newcastle, but with a huge twist. We can only use Wonderkids in our starting 11. That means anyone over 21, they're out. The only exception, players who have been with the club since before turning 21. This means we are going to lose key players such as Tonali, Bruno, Isaac, and more. But with a massive budget at our disposal and an exciting project ahead, this could be one of the most thrilling rebuilds of the year. Big names are on the way, but the question is, how far can we push this young, dynamic Newcastle side? Premier League champions? UCL glory? Let's go and find out. So then, we're back once again. Firstly, if you do enjoy the rebuilds, be sure to leave a like, but this is going to be an interesting sort of day for me because Newcastle obviously have got the reputation already. They've got good training, good youth recruitment, they're rich, the owners love the club, everything goes your way, right? Well, how about you strip away the entire first team basically, because as we're about to go and see on the transfers and the history, pay attention to the right hand side of the screen, I have offloaded every player that is invalid from this challenge, all to Al Hilal because they don't impact any UEFA European competitions. It's the best way to get rid of them. All the other thing we could have done is released them all, then added on all of the total budget into our sort of transfer budget. But we've sold every player for the bare minimum, so you get the two price tags on a player, for example 60 to 110, we go with the smallest figure. So all of these players have gone all to Al Hilal and we have disposed of everybody that we can't use. Therefore, we had a ridiculous budget, and I mean a mental budget. Now, what I'm going to do is, we have brought in so many players, we're not going to go through them one by one because we might spend about 15 years going through that section of the video. But just a little rundown, we obviously have lost Tonali, Isaac, Bruno, Harvey Barnes, we've lost the likes of Joe Linton, Pope, Shah, Botman I believe also has gone. He has gone. Joe Willock, Anthony Gordon, because they don't meet the requirements. But let's go over and see what team I've actually built, because we've got quite a good young team. Before we do that, a little quick reminder, we have got 4 competitions to play in, so these young lads have got to be at the races. Now, it'll be quite interesting to see where they think we're going to finish, considering our team, and they still think around about 7th, so that's pretty interesting. But the team that I have assembled, in terms of the money, by the way, we still had £166 million left, so it goes to show that I could have gone even more over the top, but I haven't. We have brought in these players. Now, we have got an incredible team. Our starting 11 is now a new look team. We have obviously got Aduro in goal. We've got Lewis, Quansah, Luca Bea, Kirkes, Wharton, Miley, Gray, Williams, Yildiz, and of course Kilshkoy up front. So a bit of a Turkish influence with the front two here. We've got a very, very, very strong team. Now, of course, these players aren't all at their peak, so we might not win the Premier League in the first year. Probably won't do, to be honest, especially with a goalkeeper who is only 2-star ability. In terms of the bench, we've got okay players, you know, we've got Setford, Livramento, Goulat, Shaquille Van Persie, Mascara, Kendry Paez, Doak, we've got Cabrasi, we've got Carlon, we've got, I always butcher his name, I always butcher this guy's name, Asan, I'm going to call him Asan, and obviously a personal favourite of mine, a bit of a weird one, I've always liked him playing in real life, we've also got Festi. So we've got a very strong team. I could have gone even more hardcore and obviously signed your Gavis, your Pedris, but I thought let's also have a bit of English influence in the team, hence why there's a few English players. And this team, you know, in terms of the actual ability, not as good as Newcastle if you look at, you know, purely on the stars, but this is the future of football, and that's why I love to do these videos, because we can actually see how we're going to, you know, see football in 5 years, 10 years time. Now, we are using the Eddie Howe 433. This tactic is coming out on my main channel in around about 3 to 4 days, so make sure you are subscribed to both, and make sure you are onto the Patreon as well, because then you get all of the tactics as well. But realistically, this team at the moment, I wouldn't say is a Premier League winning side, because especially the back line need to develop a little bit more. The attack's lethal. The attack is lethal, but realistically I'm going to aim for top 4 and we're going to go from there. But this is a very fun experiment, hopefully one that you do enjoy. Let me know what you think of this concept in the video, and also if you've got any other different rebuild ideas, please do leave a comment, because I do respond to the comment and I love to see what you people think. Let's get in to season 1. We'll get the sort of dead sort of trophy out the way. We are going to win the Friendly Cup. I'm going to show it. I mean, Shaquille Van Persie actually got a goal there, which is pretty good to see. It's technically a trophy, but who really wants that? In terms of the league, not as good as what I actually thought. Maybe I did over sort of play how easy this would be to instantly get back to the top. What I will say is, Kilshkoy is going to be in your top goal scorers inside of 4th place. Nico Williams, the 2nd best player of the matches. Yildiz, the joint 3rd with De Bruyne when it comes to the assists, and also the 4th most clean sheets. So we are already seeing some of these young players really showcase what they've got in the locker, but we're only going to be in the Europa League next year, which is okay. It's an entry season. I think the big issue here is obviously the amount of losses, and a lot of them are against the big teams, so I think we can take on the smaller teams, but we're just waiting to build up enough sort of ability in this squad to take on United's, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, them real big teams. They're the ones we're trying to beat, and as you can see, a lot of their players are also in the rankings, so they're very strong teams. We've still got a very young squad, but fair play to Kilshkoy, doing very well with the goal sort of return. I mean, it's decent. I'm not going to complain. And we nearly did win a trophy, I'll tell you that for free, because we get all the way to the final of the Carabao Cup, where unfortunately we do lose to Man City, but I will take a final appearance. In fact, I'll take 2 final appearances, because this is going to be a game in the FA Cup final against all teams. Aston Villa, a very strong game, and look who gets the goal. It is going to be Big Kilshkoy, a 1-0 win, already a win at Wembley. Which means in our first season, we have won 2 trophies. If you're going to include the friendly one, I might not, to be honest. We've won 1 real trophy. We've got top 6, which I will take for the first season. I did want top 4, that is not a secret, but it is what it is. And runners up in the Carabao Cup. So for a first season, it's actually quite a good return. For a team of no one older than 21, it's absolutely remarkable. Now, in terms of the actual squad, we can go over and sort of see how the players have done. So for example, 22 goals from Kilshkoy, Nico Williams, literally our best player, 20 goals, 13 assists, incredible return. This guy is absolutely incredible, literally one of the best Wonderkids in the game, such a bright future. Hopefully that is the same story in real life. 15 and 16 for Yildiz. Lewis Miley, again a player that I didn't even really talk about. 12 and 9, of course, a player that is one of Newcastle, so that's also quite nice to see him doing quite well. We've also got Kendry coming in with 5 and 4, 4 and 5 coming in for Asan, 4 and 10 coming in for Wharton, Archie Gray 3 and 8. Van Persie is going to be a bit of an interesting one, because obviously based off the current ability, Kilshkoy is going to take over, but he is a good player, but as it stands, a good Sky Bet League 2 player, so I might send him to the under-21s for a bit, I might loan him out, but to be honest, I sort of need him for the backup. But for a first season, you know, I am not too annoyed at this. The best 11 doesn't really change, it still is going to be the exact same lineup, but in terms of what the player's done for their first season, for some of these anyway in England, it's a very, very good return. Now, in terms of the money, we are going to have a lot of money, 214 million, and once again, we can only sign people which are, well, under 21. And as you can see, I'm going to show you what it looks like a little bit, because it does restrict you in certain areas. So what I usually do is, I don't even go on the scouting, because you don't get much of a return in that regard. But you see all these big names, Harry Kane, Vinicius, Rodri, it would be lovely, and we probably could afford them. But realistically, what we have to do is change this and go all the way up here to only the 21s, and then the names change. Now, obviously, there is still some serious talent we can pick up. All of these players we can technically pick up. All of them are within the sort of requirements of the video, but we don't need every single player. But with 214 million, I might nab some, because we can definitely afford them. Let's get in to Season 2. So signing 1 is going to be the last chance we could sign him, because he is going to turn 22, is going to be Restes. Now, he comes in for a total of 41 million, instantly becomes the first team goalkeeper. I looked at the goalkeepers we had and I thought, do you know what? They're good for the future, but we are not going to get anywhere with them at the moment. So yes, it might affect their development, but this guy is a must. A young goalkeeper, when he's available, you have to bring him in. And that's exactly what we have done. Bringing a player who was 21, don't worry when we signed him, it's going to be Julio Enciso. Now, he comes in from Brighton for 77 million, so serious Wonga, but he returns 17 goals and 8 assists, and drops a 7.28. So, I mean, realistically, you get what you pay for. With this player here, you've got a young player that can play on either side of the wings, up front, through the middle. He's quick, good dribbling, good finishing, good composure, pretty much everything that a footballer needs. Yeah, I'll happily pay the price. And speaking of complete players, we are also going to sign Kobbie Mainoo. Now, this guy, we know how good he is in real life, how good he is in the game. He is literally a tank, is what he is. He's such a good midfield player, can play loads of positions in that midfield as well. He comes in for 80 million, again, a big price tag, 7.2 rating, 3 goals, 8 assists, will always get into the team. Just a real good talent that, to be honest, adds so much to this midfield. That completes our real second official window. Now, in terms of this, obviously we've brought in 3 players, so we've spent quite a fair bit of money. They have tagged onto this transfer window, so don't worry, I've not signed all of these players in one go. These are from last season. In terms of other players, a couple of players going out on the free. But what I will say is, I think we have brought in 3 very big players, and all of them players got into the first team. That should impact our results quite a fair bit. Let's just say it's impacted quite a fair bit because we have won the Premier League in Season 2. Now, don't worry, the video is far from over because the Champions League is really what we want to try and do. But we have won the Premier League in our second season with young players. It goes to show how good they are, these players, not only in real life, but also in the game. But we have literally got to take our hat off and respect Nico Williams because he is the second best average rating. He's also in there when he's the top assister and the 3rd top goal scorer. This guy has single-handedly pretty much carried this club to a league title. What a performance. Reste's going to be joint second with 2 other goalkeepers when it comes to the clean sheets. And I tell you what, Yildiz, second most assists as well. We've got to shout him out. A great player as well. Nice to see that he's performing in the Premier League. And you know what? I was expecting us to win the Premier League at some point, but I had a heart set on Season 3, to be honest. To win it in Season 2, with also 10 draws, by the way, that's a statement. Another final against Aston Villa, this time the Europa League final, and Emi Martinez, if you are watching, he will never be in any universe. Never do that again. What are you doing in that regard? An awful bit of goalkeeping as Williams is going to be on the ball now. 48 minutes, back to Williams. Always give it to Williams, basically. A ball into the box, and it is going to be Yildiz. It's an easy final. We also do win the Community Shield, so at the moment, we are sitting on a treble. The Premier League, the Europa League, and the Community Shield. 2 more competitions to go. And this is where we can humble ourselves because we are going to go out in the 4th round against Chelsea in the FA Cup. And the Carabao Cup, it doesn't improve really. The 3rd round, an exit against Brighton in that 3rd round. So the English Cups, apart from the Community Shield, were a little bit shambolic. The Europa League was really, really good. Who did we actually beat to get to this though? Who did we beat? Chelsea. Fair play, decent team. Quarter-final, Sevilla, an okay team. Round of 16, Sporting, very, very good team. So I will say, we earned our way to the final. We won the final. We definitely won the Premier League. It's a very, very good season. Money-wise, we've got 243 million pounds to go and improve. And I will imagine we've got some pretty good performers now. So we have 27 goals and 24 from Nico Williams. Outscoring our strikers now. This guy... he's the face of Newcastle, isn't he? He is now the new face of Newcastle. 24 and 18 for Yildiz, and CCO 24 and 10, 18 and 9 for Lewis Miley. That is beautiful to see. 10 and 12 from Kilshkoy. It's decent, but obviously Williams outscoring quite a fair bit now. Yildiz as well, I imagine, getting a few games up front. 8 and 8 for Archie Gray. Adam Wharton, 7 and 6. Kobbie Mainoo, 5 and 11, 3 and 10 for Rico Lewis. It's a very good return. These players are doing very well, but it's pretty obvious who's going to be the best player. Yeah, let's just give it to him now, shall we? Because he definitely has deserved it. But this team on paper, right, we've just seen them win a Premier League. They've also gone over and won a Europa League and a Community Shield. Can this team win a Champions League? I'm still going to say no, because I look at the back line. Rico Lewis is incredible. Kirk is incredible. Quansah, very good. Luca Bayer, incredible. I just don't think we are quite there to win a Champions League. I think it's going to take a few seasons. Now, the way that I'm going to bring these new players in is to, one, look if they can get into the first team. Now, as the years go on, because I've capped this at age 21, it actually becomes harder to pick up big names because they get older, you can't bring in pre-made players. So, for example, Nico Williams, Kobbie Mainoo, they are sort of pre-built young players. As you go on, you start to lose access to a lot of the young players, and now you're reliant on sort of regens coming through and just some of the younger players really having great times. So it gets a little bit difficult. Now, realistically, looking at this team, the back line's very strong. Maybe we could do with a bit, right back, we've got Livramento as backup, which we don't need to improve on. Also, Archie Gray can cover there. Left back, we've got Kirkes, and then Lewis Hall, which is great backup. Centre-backs, we've got 2 very good options there. Goalkeepers, got good options. Midfield, we're okay in. Obviously, Archie Gray and Lewis Hall can cover. Maybe we get one cemented backup DM instead of someone that can play there, because that could be a bit more of a secure option. The wingers, Williams Enciso, Gula, Doak. I mean, we're pretty much covered, so I'm not going to bring in players for the sake of it, but you might see me bring in one player. I'm not going to spend the money purely just to spend it. Let's get into the next window after a very, very strong season. Right, well, I haven't brought in a backup DM. I brought in a world-class DM who is still 21. I brought in Emery. Now, he comes in from PSG for 105 million. Let's ignore that side because you pay for what you get. He has returned a good average rating, a good amount of goals, and a good amount of assists. Now, this guy is way too good to be a backup player, but it does mean that one of our very good midfield players can now be a backup. So we still have improved the overall squad, but our midfield now consists of Emery and Kobbie Mainoo. Just two names. It's ridiculous. Purely for the video purpose, to still have these sort of English-Irish players into the team, I have brought in Evan Ferguson because he is a great young Premier League player already. He comes in and plays 26 games, scores 16 goals, 1 assist. Very, very good return in my opinion, and just adds to the star-studded lineup we have. We've got fantastic strikers now. We've got Van Persie, we've got Kilshkoy, we've got so many different strikers who can play there. Yildiz, also Evan Ferguson. In terms of putting us in loads of competitions, even if we get 2 injuries to strikers, we've got 2 incredible options. This team should cook. Is what you'd think, right? You'd think it would cook, but we have fallen off a little bit in the Premier League. We are only going to be, what? Well, to be fair, 6 points off the title, so it's just a bit more of a tight season. There is literally 2 points from 4th. Yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't say we've fallen off. It's just a much, much closer league table, which Liverpool, fair play to them. They do very well. In terms of players for us, Nico Williams, still going to be the best performer. Kobbie Mainoo doing very well. Nico Williams, Evan Ferguson, 3rd and 4th place. In terms of the actual clean sheets, Restes still going to be in there, so our players are still playing well. I just think a couple of the results, like for example, all you got to do really is draw and win one of the games you lost, or 2 losses, and we would have won the league. So, you know, they're the sort of margins we're talking about. It's very close. I'm not going to be too upset. We are going to find ourselves in another Community Shield final. This time, though, an awful starter is going to be against United. De Ligt is going to play it back into Pino, I believe, into Mazraoui, which did take a big deflection. But we're not going to give up. We've got talent in this team. Kirkes into Enciso, back into Adam Wharton, who is quite pushed up there, to be fair. Into Semir, through into Emery, the new £105 million signing. Is going to tie it up in the 63rd minute. And we actually go on to win this around about 38 seconds exactly after that goal. We go and score another with Wharton. De Ligt, it's diabolical from him. We'll take it. We are also going to lift the UEFA Super Cup against Liverpool, the first time we've won that one. First season in the Champions League, I'm not going to be too angry about. We are going to go out in the quarterfinals, but we obviously, round of 16, we beat FC Bayern 6-2, and therefore did we go into this? We didn't, so in the league phase, we were very good. We were in, 7th place, which I would take with a Newcastle team at the moment, so it's quite a good return. The rest of the competitions, we can't really get these right at the moment. The Carabao Cup, we're going to bail out in the semi-finals on penalties against Chelsea, and as you can see on the competition screen, we lose to Burnley in the FA Cup. Now, again, it's a 3-1 defeat, which is actually quite embarrassing, to be honest, but when you look at the amount of competitions, 6 competitions on our screen, you are going to see a bit of a drop-off in some competitions. It's a load of football games, so I'm going to be sensible. In terms of the actual stats, though, for players, Evan Ferguson is going to top the goal scoring charts, which is a good sign because it shows we're not wasted money. Nico Williams, 22 goals, 13 assists. This guy will never not impress. He's always such a good performer. 15 and 3 for Kilshkoy. Lewis Miley, 10 and 10. 10 and 9 for Emery. 10 and 12 for Yildiz. 7 and 6 for Enciso. We've got Mainoo with 5 and 8. 4 and 14 for Archie Gray. A great return there. And Rico Lewis, always doing quite well, Rico Lewis. This doesn't go unnoticed, I will say. He's always putting up decent assists, so fair play to him. And looking at this team, we have got a good team on paper, but we just need time now. We just need time and maybe the occasional new player to bring in to try and push for that Champions League. The only thing that I don't like about this team is, I'll give you a couple of seconds to guess. See if you got it right. I do not like Wharton as a Mazzala, so I'm either going to change it I'm either going to change him. He's got decent stats, to be fair to him, but I'm either going to change him or I'm going to change the role. I'm going to do one or two things. So I'll see who's on the market, see who I can bring in. In an ideal world, I mean, we've got players that can play there. Like, we could have Asan there, for example. Asan I feel bad for because he's not getting any game time. I don't like to lock in players because it's a bit unfair on the other players, you know, but maybe for the next season we do lock in an Asan, lock in like a Lewis Hall, give him some game time, you know what I mean? It's a shame the match engine doesn't sort of switch it up a little bit more often, but in terms of the actual money, we've got £272 million to go into the next window. Now, I'm not being funny, this isn't a perfect season, it's not an awful season. I think with that sort of money, we can progress in the Champions League at least to a final appearance, because I think this team can do it. This front three is lethal. Might surprise you, but I've only made one signing, and that is going to be Luka Vuskovic. There was no real attacker midfield players that were going to win me a Champions League. I'm going to stick with Wharton for one more season in that role, or I might put him as a box-to-box. Something like that. But we are going to spend a total of 40 million. This signing is definitely one for the future. He is 21, so the oldest that a player could be. And I will say he was brought in, and he did look a little bit better than what I paid for. But unfortunately, the deal's been done. Probably not the most exciting window in Season 4, but I'm a big believer in not just signing players for the sake of it. We have brought in some real big names over the last few years. Season 3, we spent 195 million. Obviously, this window had to happen because we've sold an entire team. But this season, we've kept it humble. And I'll be honest, I'm now relying on the players improving to win me trophies again, which hopefully they will. For the Champions League, I will say no progression. We are going to go out in the quarterfinals again, this time against Inter Milan. The round of 16, we do beat Liverpool 5-3, which is quite good because they're also competition in the Premier League. The league phase, we are finishing in second place and also invincible. So I will say we can go toe-to-toe with the big teams. It's now about just sealing it all up and getting the job done, because clearly we can beat, I mean, who did we beat? We beat Bayern, AC Milan, Inter Milan, we can even beat them, Arsenal. We can beat the big boys. It's just about doing it in the knockouts. We can win is the Premier League. We are going to be, I mean, that is, again, really nice to see, because although we've won it once, now obviously the main sort of focus is winning the Champions League. We have got Evan Ferguson matching Haaland in terms of goals. Emery, most assists, also the second best performer. The first season, Nico Williams actually is nowhere to be seen. Maybe an injury. Hopefully he's not been sold. That will annoy me, but hopefully he's still at the club. That is something I'm going to check. But what you're about to see next is a little bit of bottle heritage, because we get to 2 finals and we lose both of them. 2-1 against Chelsea in the FA Cup final, and the Carabao Cup 4-4 the game goes, which we lose on penalties against Liverpool. So despite winning the Premier League and reaching 2 finals, I am annoyed because we are literally 2 games off winning an English treble. And both of the finals went against us. And the Champions League, we are pretty much where we are. A great display in the league phase. The knockouts, it's okay. Nothing great. So, I mean, I don't feel like we've gone very far. Even though we're back to winning the league, look at the points. It's not a dominant league display. If I'm saying last year that we got a little bit unlucky because the table was so close, this year I can't go say we dominated it when the table's that close either. Looking at the squad, I mean, Evan Ferguson, he might be the signing. I mean, Nico Williams actually had a bit of a quiet season. 14 and 10 is quiet by his standards. 55 goals for Evan Ferguson. This is the reality of if you develop him right, you train him right, he will be world class by the time he's 23. He is essentially the new Harry Kane. Lewis Hall enjoying a great time as well. 14 and 10, as I said, from Williams. 15 and 21 for Yildiz, a great player who is developing very well. 8 and 19, not 18. 8 and 19 from Emery, and CCO 6 and 4. Then the rest of the stats, Rico Lewis contributes quite well again there. Other than that, nothing really too much to scream about. Kobbie Mainoo not enjoying a great season, to be honest, but Adam Wharton, not either really. Asan, you know, a few of these players aren't playing that many games, we have to remember. But as long as they're filling in when they need to, getting the job done, that is all that matters. But looking at the actual team, filtering by the best 11, this is going to be what we have. So it is still going to be what you'd expect to see. The same back line, the midfield, you've got Williams, Yildiz, Ferguson. This front three is ridiculous. I do want to quickly say, by the way, at any point in this video, if you do want to go over and get this rebuild file and the tactic, you can go and find it on the Patreon, which is going to be in the description, or Google Josh Daly. It will come up as well. But I will say, the bench I'm looking at, and we've got some real star players on here. Now, when I do these videos, I want your opinion in the comments. Do I lock players in that aren't given a fair chance? But then is it unfair on the other player? That's why I personally don't lock players in. Lock players in also refers to where basically putting them in their positions, clicking this right here, and using this option here. Use current team selection. That means that they'll lock the player in and make them play, unless they're injured or can't play for whatever reason. But this season, Season 4, it's an okay season. Back to the Premier League win. Obviously, 2 final appearances. The 5th season, we've got 266 million. So that budget has always been quite consistent. So, I mean, with this budget, we are going to try and push on to get from the quarters at least to the semis in that Champions League. I might try and invest in the back line a little bit more. I think that's where we're going to go. And we are going to bring in a big Turkish talent in Zafer Demir. He is going to come in from Southampton. He comes in for a total of 51 million, plays 24 games and covers a 6.96 average rating. At the age of 20, I will accept it. The great thing about this guy as well is he can also cover DM. So 2 positions in 1 price tag. I will take it. And the last signing of the video is going to be Ethan Nwaneri. Now this guy, well, he looks incredible. He definitely will be our new Mazzala, let me tell you that. He is nearly a 5 out of 5 star at the age of 22. He was 21 when we signed him. Don't worry about that. Look at the physical, look at the mental, look at the technical. He cost me 89 million, but he comes in with 8 goals, 14 assists in the Premier League alone, to clarify that. A 7.12. He is worth every penny, and he is actually, literally, the last signing of this window. So let's go and see what happened. Right into the Champions League. Can we beat past the quarter-final stage? We are going to smash RC Lens. Feel sorry for them being even playing us in this competition. 8-2 over 2 legs. Into the quarter-final, a 4-1 win over Man City. A real dominant display. And then into the semis, we are going to beat Real Madrid. Real Madrid we beat, which is incredible, 3-2. And we are going to match up against Manchester United in the Champions League. Now, no disrespect to them, but if we are going to win a Champions League, it can be against them. We got off to the perfect start. I am talking a goal inside of 5 minutes. Lewis with a ball in into Yildiz, a cutback into Ethan Nwaneri, you know, the new signing. What a start for him. A 1-goal advantage there. And I tell you what, Manchester United, despite getting a little cheeky goal here with Bruno Fernandes, as you're going to see, as you see these highlights, it's not looking good for them, because literally they were tied up for around about 7 minutes. We then go down, literally a direct approach into the box. It's going to be, I believe, Williams getting the goal there to make it 2-1. And this is where United fell apart. Williams again, 3-1 inside of 36 minutes. We are now 73 minutes on the clock, and it is going to be former man Kobbie Mainoo down the right-hand side into Rico Lewis, goes alone to make it 4-1. 4-1 in the Champions League final. Yildiz is then going to get it off Euro. An awful bit of play from the back here from Riki. Mainoo goes through and makes it 5-1. A Panenka against his former team and a celebration. And another penalty. 6-1. Yeah, a 6-1 win against Manchester United. That is some way to win the Champions League. We also do lift the Premier League again, which is very nice to see. Evan Ferguson might be the best player in the game right now. I'm not even joking. I think we signed him literally at the perfect point. The most player of the matches, the most goals, the second best performer. Yildiz, big shout out to him. Ethan Nwaneri, the most assists. I think Evan Ferguson, alongside of a few other players, they may have developed to their max potential. The rest of the competitions, another final appearance in this. We couldn't really get the grasp of these competitions too well. Runners-up in the Community Shield, a 4-2 defeat to Chelsea, and Burnley, clearly. Who have Burnley got in charge? Scott Parker, why are they so good? Naipan Gordon for Tawu. What sort of, Clark, what sort of budget are they operating with? That is actually a very good team. Fair play to them, but we still should be beating them. But we have now won the Premier League and the Champions League, what we set the goal to be. And I tell you what, the team I have left you with is absolutely ridiculous. You've got Restes, Lewis, Zafa, Luca Bea, Livramento, Mainoo, Nwaneri, Emery, Williams, Yildiz and Ferguson. And let's just go and look at the stats, shall we? 69 goals from Evan Ferguson, 5 assists, 20 from Nico Williams, 16 from from Emery, 15 from Namweri, 14 for Yildiz, 7 for Mainu. Assist-wise, Namweri was literally everything we needed. That was the one part of the puzzle that was missing, a good attacker midfield player. He has come in, and it's no secret to why we have won the Premier League and the Champions League. If you are going to carry on this rebuild, you know, after me, I mean, we have added in a lot of new trophies, so, you know, you can try and add a few more in. I honestly think the challenge I'm going to set you, what can I set you as a challenge? Your challenge is to win the treble, which is the Premier League, the Champions League, and either the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. One of them. That's going to be your challenge, and you've also got a budget of £271 million. So if you want to accept the challenge, be sure to go over to the Patreon, get the tactic, get the rebuild file. You actually get all of my tactics, all of my rebuild files, and also we've got 20% off at the moment. So make sure if you are going to go over, now is the right time. If you have enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you, not doing that again, in the next one.